Hi, Wellness Hippie here. I've been wanting to do this video for a long time. This is something I'm very passionate about, something that I wish I knew way back when I was pregnant and about to give birth. And I want to be able to shed some of my information so that maybe this will be helpful for you. So if you're watching this video, it must mean that you're pregnant or about to become pregnant or thinking about it. So congratulations. My journey into a healthy, crunchy lifestyle started when I was pregnant with my first child. I wanted what was ever best for that child. And I'm sure many of you have a similar experience. And so it made me research and learn more about anything and everything that would be put on, around, or inside my child to keep them the healthiest that they can be. So the start of my journey was that I wanted a med-free delivery and birth. I wanted that experience. I felt that it was natural, that our bodies are meant to do this. It was something that was placed by God, and many women, generations past, did it, so why can't I, right? Unfortunately, the hospital that I was in was not really suited for natural births. They had a high C-section rate, and they're used to women getting the epidural as soon as possible and all the interventions that follow. I had indicated to my doctor that I wanted to be in whatever position that my body felt the most relief for pushing, and I was told flat out no, it wasn't going to happen. I had to be on my back with my legs up against my head and being told to push when I needed to push. And that was just really dejecting. And then you explain your desires for a natural birth to family and friends, and you get laughed at, telling, oh, please, honey, you know, I've been through birth. It's painful. You want that medication. Or I didn't have it, and you want it. Or I tried, but I couldn't. You need that medication. And again, it was defeating. I felt like I was doing an impossible task, which I knew wasn't true. Then I go to the hospital ready to deliver, and I tell the nurses, I don't want an epidural. I want a med-free birth, and if I do decide to have an epidural, I want it to be my choice and not being asked by physicians and nurses if I want an epidural. And I literally got laughed at. They pretty much mocked my decision, and later on indicated that they had a raffle to see when I would get an epidural, how quickly. And again, it was dejecting. I didn't feel supported that this was possible. So I was at the hospital, I had some back labor, I was walking around doing my thing, and I think I was taking too long for them. So they made comments. I don't think they liked me walking around, and I was asked if I wanted to break my water. I trusted what they were asking me to do and their expertise, so I said yes. Little did I know that the pain would be so intense afterwards, and you don't need your water to break before you give birth. Trust me, you don't. So they broke my water, pain got intense. Little did I know at the time that because I had back labor was due to the fact that my daughter was coming out face first. So usually the baby comes out the crown of the head, and the muscle or the bones are able to kind of mesh and fold together to make that coned head to help ease through delivery. Well, my baby couldn't do that because she was going face first. So forehead and chin were hitting my pelvic bones, indicating the back labor. No one was watching for that or looking for that. I didn't know. So that makes pain through delivery super, super, super painful. So I had intense labor and then, intense contractions followed by no rest and just contractions. So it was super pain and then pain, super pain and then pain for 17 hours. And I broke down. I couldn't do it any longer. I was checked multiple times, and after 17 hours they checked me again. They said it'll be another 6 hours, and I thought to myself, I could do this maybe for another 30 minutes or another hour, but I can't do it for another 6 hours. So I put my tail between my legs, and I theoretically and I got an epidural, and I felt so dejected. It took the pain away. You know, it was helpful for the time. And I do not fault anybody that gets an epidural. And if that's your personal choice, that is yours, and that's good for you. It helped me out a lot at the time, but I was dejected because that was something I did not want to do. It followed through with, I got an infection. My baby got an infection. It got really scary for a while. They had to use forceps. I had a 3rd-degree tear. I almost had a C-section. Baby was in the NICU for 4 days with IV meds. I wasn't able to hold my child for the first 9 hours of life. It was definitely not the birth plan that I had expected. Come to find out, after having birth and talking to other mothers, they didn't have the birth experience they wanted either. There was tons of emergency cases, and I thought to myself, I don't think that this is the way birth was intended. Why is it so dangerous? And yes, birth can be dangerous no matter what area you're in or how healthy you are, but to the percentage that it is now, made me question. So I started to watch the documentary, The Business of Being Born, and realized that our country, the United States of America, has the most birth death rates of babies than any other country, any other industrial country. In other countries that do midwife births and more natural births have less complications, less C-sections, less deaths. And so it made me question our system. So then comes second baby, and I said, I want a natural, pain-free birth. And people thought, you're crazy. You know, you said that the first time, and look what happened. So through the pregnancy, I decided to go to a midwife, and I decided to do a home birth because I did not want to go through the hospital and have the experience that I had before. And I was nervous. I wasn't sure if I could do it because I remembered the first time, and I wanted it so bad, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't perform. And so I was scared. Plus, I had some scarring from the 3rd-degree tear, and I was very nervous about that, if this was something that I could do. And I learned some coping measures that made my experience possible. And I want to share it because if I knew these things when I was pregnant with my first child, I think I would have had a much different experience. And I want to share that with you so that maybe you can have a different experience as well. So I think the first most important thing is that you know the position of your baby. So a midwife will check the position of your baby constantly. And they check by touching the stomach and seeing where the head is and the butt is and the back and legs and all of that. So your OB, your physician, does that as well, but they usually don't check through touching or palpation. They usually check through ultrasound. And they're checking to see if head is down after, so many months and weeks of being pregnant. And once the head's down, they're happy. They don't really check anymore unless there's a reason to check. Head's down. So a midwife says, yes, yay, head is down. That's great. You're getting ready for birth. But that's not all that we need to check. We need to check if the baby's head rotated to the right or to the left, and then have like right oblique left, left oblique right. I don't remember all the terms, but they check those things. And so yes, if the baby's head's down, there's not going to be a breech, and so your chances of natural delivery go way up. But if baby is not in the right position, then you have higher chances of back labor, more pain, because the baby is not in a position to come through the pelvic outlet as easily. So therefore, your body has to contract stronger to try to get this baby out, and that will create more pain or back labor. So my midwife was constantly checking position, and the baby changed all the time. One moment it was head down, but turned to the right. In other ways, it was turned to the left. And so, at birth, you just have to really monitor, and that's what she did. So I started to go through labor, and I started to have a little bit of back labor. Not much, but I knew what it felt like, and I was nervous, and I did not want that to happen again. So she said, look at Spin Babies and do what Spin Babies tells you to do. So I looked at Spin Babies and I followed their directions. It's lots of different maneuvers, kind of dance maneuvers, pelvic rocks and tilts and positions to help get baby in the most optimal position. I did it, and guess what? The back pain went away, or it significantly reduced. It was a very, very, very doable. And so I had thought to myself, if I knew that with my first one, and I could have been able to get her out of face first position, what a different experience that would be. One other thing that I loved about my midwife is that she did birthing class with me and my husband. And it was coping measures when you are going through labor. And one of the biggest things that was helpful is that she had my husband and I both take a glass of ice water, and I'll show you, see if I don't break it. And I thought, oh my word, what is she gonna have us do? And she said, I want you to put your hand in there, and you're gonna hold it for 2 minutes. And I thought, this is so silly. You know, your hand freezing in water will not be anything similar to birth. And yeah, that's true. It's not anything similar to birth, but it does create pain. And it shows you your response to pain. And so we did that. We put our hands in and we held it for 2 minutes, and we were a little bit squirmy, and our body started to tighten up, and she asked us what was happening. We were describing it to her. And she said, that's a response to pain, but it ends up creating more pain. And sorry. So she said, let's try it again. This time I want you to breathe. Nice, deep, cleansing breaths. Breathe in and just breathe out all that tension away. And so I did that, and it wasn't quite as intense. And then she stopped my husband from doing the ice bath, and he was watching me. And so his job was, anytime my shoulders would go up or any muscles started to look tense, he would put a hand to let me know that I was tightening up, and I would relax, and the pain became less intense. And we tried other things, such as visualization of different colors, and going from red, that's intense, down to like a blue or violet, which helps you to think about relaxing more. And that can be helpful. It wasn't as helpful for me. The other thing that she had us do is, my hand was in the water and I'm breathing and I'm trying to relax my muscles, and she had my husband do circular motions on my back, nice and slow, continuous, so that I could focus on the hand placement on my back and less on the pain. And although that can be very helpful for me personally, the most helpful was trying to relax, trying to breathe, and let my body just do its thing. It's meant to birth. You don't even have to do anything. Your body will do it for you. And that's what I was thinking about. Just let my body do what it needs to do. I'm gonna relax. And I did that, and the pain reduced. And so it was something that I could actually tangibly practice before birth. The other component that's so important is support. You need that support, whether it's your husband, whether it's your mother, whether it's a friend, whatever family member that you have or friend that you have, you need that support. You need them to practice with you so they know what techniques work best for you, so that they're prepared for that time. You can do it alone, but it's easier to do it with others if you can. The third thing that was super important is birth affirmations. Again, I thought, please, what's words gonna do for me? I'm still gonna go through this pain, but it's huge. Your mind is so incredibly important to distract or manipulate the pain, and you can. Our brains are powerful. So I looked through lots of different birth affirmations. I'm a Christian, And I wanted this birth to be a Christian experience. I wanted to be able to walk with God. And so I found a lot of natural Christian birth affirmations, but they're really wordy. I found some scriptures that I wanted to be read. Again, were really wordy. And so in the beginning, they were read and it was comforting. But at the end, it was just too much for my mind to wrap around. I was focused. So for me, the best birth affirmations were the quick, short, and sweet ones. And so one was like, with each contraction, I'm getting closer to having my baby in my arms. And I would also have the visualization that my uterus with each contraction was pushing my baby down and like opening a blossom. My cervix was opened like a blossom and the head was coming down further. And so I knew where the baby was at all times, and it made me realize that the contraction was not pain. It was helping me get my baby closer to me. And so those were the best affirmations. And another one's every surge brings me closer to the baby. So those were pretty much all the same things. So that was chanted over and over. I chanted it with each contraction. My husband chanted it. And it was very, very helpful. It made it a positive experience. I wasn't dreading the contractions anymore. I was actually encouraging them because that meant that I was getting through this whole birth process. I would have my baby. The other thing is a relaxing environment. So you can do this in the hospital, and you can make that experience possible. And at the home, it's a little bit more relaxing because it's your home, it's comfortable to you. But I try to make that experience even more relaxing. So I diffused essential oils. I diffused lavender. It was very relaxing. Now, I might diffuse Young Living Stress Away, because that is a super yummy smelling essential oil, and it definitely promotes a relaxing environment. I had beeswax candles that were burning as well. I had the lights dimmed low, and that was incredibly helpful and comforting. I also was able to be in whatever position I needed to be to have a successful birth. So initially I was walking around the house, leaning over furniture when I needed to. I later on was on a bounce ball and in a reclined position. That was the most comfortable for me. And then last, before I pushed, I was in the water in a similar position because at the time that was most comfortable, and it was a possible birth. In fact, labor was relatively easy, and I all of a sudden had the urge to push, like I was pushing for a bowel movement, and the midwife said, "That means it's time. Let's get in the water. Let's push this baby out." And I was shocked. I'm like, really? Because I thought I should be in transition. The transition's the most painful part of birth. And I've already gone through it. So like, I was shocked. I was literally shocked. My birth experience with my second was much, much, much less intense than the first. And I think it's because I followed these rules. And so then I went into the water, and my midwife did not tell me when to push. She said, your body will tell you when you need to push. So when I felt the urge to push, again, similar like a bowel movement, I pushed. And when I didn't feel that urge, I didn't push. And there was a time where the baby's head was right there, and I felt like if I started to push anymore, that I would tear a lot more. And my body said, stop. And I stopped, and all the sensations of contraction went away. And the baby actually tried to push itself out of the body, like an ejection reflex, which was kind of a neat experience. And the only challenging part for me was the last part, pushing the baby through the ring of fire. And I think that in your experience, it's going to be a lot better for you than it was for me. I had some scarring from the first child, so the tissue wasn't as stretchy as normally should be. And that was intense, and that put me into a new place. But it was a good place because it was a challenge, but it was a challenge of love. I wanted this baby out. I wanted that baby in my arms. and I needed to find my strong place. And my strong place was my relationship with God. And so I prayed out loud, Lord, please be with me. Lord, be with this moment. Help me to get this baby out. Help me to do it. And my midwife actually read a Bible verse through Isaiah, and I was kind of in the zone, so I'm not quite sure what she said, but it was still helpful because I knew I had that support and God was there with me, and it really helped take it to the next level. And I had that baby, and that pain, boom, was gone. That baby came out and it was like, oh, no more pain. And it was an amazing, beautiful experience, and I remember every bit of it. The first birth was very fuzzy. It still is today. This birth was crystal clear, and I remember every detail, and it was a beautiful experience. You know, a lot of people say, how in the world can a birth be beautiful? It was beautiful. It was extremely beautiful. It was an act of love. It was doable, but it was challenging. And it's something that I can wear this badge of honor, saying, yes, I was able to have the birth experience I wanted, the way that God wanted us to have birth. And baby was healthy and I was healthy. So I'm not a physician, and my experience might not be the same as your experience, but I wanted to give you these tools that were extremely helpful for me, that helped me to gain the tools that I needed to do this, and I hope that it's helpful for you. Thanks.